I've been prowling our no sleep for a while now. Some of the first-hand accounts I see on here help me with my work. However, other times, I can't help but think, how the hell are you still alive? But then it makes me realize that for every account I read of someone surviving, there are usually 3 more cases where someone did die because of their stupid mistake. So, I'm here to try to keep you all from being mauled, abducted, eaten, or otherwise fucked up by the things that go bump in the night. Most likely you're thinking, what gives this guy the right to talk down to us like he is? Well, I've been hunting these things for 29 years. Most in my line of work don't make it to 10, much less 30. Before you ask, no, I will not be having a party. My point is, I know a hell of a lot about these things. You need to learn to stay alive if you have my job. It's not as easy as reading the old stories. And that leads to the first thing I'd like to address. Lore. I have an acronym for lore. Lost over recent eras. This little beauty has saved my life plenty of times. Do not expect to survive an encounter with a creature you know nothing about. And do not expect to survive an encounter with a creature using 400-year-old information. Not only is lore old information, but it is basically a giant game of telephone spanning centuries. If you millennials even know what telephone is. It's word of mouth and not to be trusted. For example, there are a myriad of differences between the European lycanthrope and the North American skinwalker. An important difference to know is that lycanthropes have no power over their transformations, while skinwalkers can transform at will when they've mastered the technique. When confronting a lycanthrope, expect it to act like a rabid beast. They are predictable, however, in the sense that they will attack almost anything. Lycanthropes are often 8 to 10 feet tall, depending on the height of the individual prior to transformation. They are heavily built and extremely strong. Lycanthropy is a disease. The movies got that right. Europe is full of these transformative viruses. They contort the base genome of DNA. Ever heard of the Black Death? Same type of disease, just a different transformative effect. Skinwalkers, however, do not transform because of a disease. They use blood magic. I hate blood magic so fucking much. Native American lore talks of a shaman who dabbled in the dark arts, shapeshifting manual. The shaman would wear the pelts of an animal of their choosing and shift into their form. Well, the lore isn't entirely accurate as usual. Skinwalkers cannot shift into animals, they blend with them. They are humanoid beastmen. Most commonly, they use a cannon as their animal. Why? Because it's blood magic. For the spell to work, the shaman, or other idiot playing with forces they don't understand, must skin the animal they want to shift into alive. Capturing and skinning a coyote or fox is far easier than skinning a bear, deer, or other creature of the forest. So guess what every dumbass thinks? It's a werewolf! Look, honey, it's a werewolf! No, it isn't. Let me make some things perfectly clear. Skinwalkers can maintain their human intelligence after transformation. They are still able to reason. That means opening doors, ambushing prey with bait, evading, being filmed and captured, etc., and etc. I know firsthand how dangerous a case of mistaken identity can be for an experienced hunter. I can't even begin to tell of the danger a novice hunter is in. I was working with a man named Lincoln, hunter of 8 years? I was only 12 years into my career. We had gotten a tip from a local shaman on an Indian reservation that something was wrong. He whispered of animals slaughtered and howls in the night. Now I knew what he meant immediately. Skinwalker. Nothing I hadn't seen before. My partner, on the other hand, had never heard of a skinwalker. So I had to give him a crash course. All the basics. Don't use silver, find some monkshroom, more commonly known as wolfsbane, and poison your crossbow and treat it like an intelligent human being. Well, Lincoln apparently took my advice to the letter. He walked up to me a half an hour later with a wolfsbane plant. He tore it from the ground, root and stem, without any fucking gloves. For those of you who don't know, monkshood is very poisonous, sometimes lethal. Now, he hadn't eaten any, so he had the common sense to not ingest a toxin strong enough to knock a fucking beast man on their ass. But he was still in danger of being affected by the plant. I told Lincoln he had to sit this one out. Through skin contact, monkshood toxin can cause heart palpitations, sweating, disorientation. Any one of these symptoms means that Lincoln would be easy prey for any skinwalker crawling around. He was furious. We had agreed to work together to split the reward for the wolves prowling the woods. But because of his stupid fucking mistake, he had forfeited that reward. That night, I went into the woods alone. Or I thought I did. I set up shop in a tree stand and set up camouflage and masked my scent with piss. The skinwalker's piss, to be exact. I was deep in his territory and his scent was everywhere. I don't know if you ever smelt skinwalker piss, but it's rank. Think bleach mixed with wet dog and the smell of stagnant water. The reason the smell is so strong is because the body expels toxins ingested to cause the shift. You are royally fucking your body up when you skin shift. And it's no joke. Most men break under the stress of the transformation. They go feral, and when the change is over, they are whimpering babies, unable to reason or speak. It is for this reason that most of the time my job is over before it begins. But sometimes, a man is strong enough to survive the change. When a man becomes a beast and is still able to reason like a human, that is when skinwalkers are at their most dangerous. Well, I tracked it down to its lair. Its safe space to endure the challenge. I set up the stand there and waited. Hours passed, and eventually I saw a bipedal creature. It seemed unsteady and exhausted. I took a look through my crossbow scope outfitted with night vision and swore. It was Lincoln. That fucker had tracked my fucker to his house, and the moron was knocking at his door. To his credit, he did almost everything right. He even brought monkshood. Unfortunately, unless distilled, it gave off an odor that a skinwalker could smell a mile away. Now, I knew Lincoln was dead. The fucking skinwalker would have already caught the scent of the plant. No way in hell he was getting out of this. And since the activity was going on for some time, I had to assume the skinwalker survived the initial shift. Once he chowed down on one hunter, he'd be on edge for more. So I did the only thing I could do to stay alive. I shot the prick Lincoln in the back with a wolfsbane laced crossbow bolt. It was a clean shot, brought him down, and struck an artery I would expect. His already increased heart rate from the effects of the poison would be through the roof. Spreading the toxin around, he screamed and bled and screamed some more. That only got the fucker more stirred up. Soon I could hear crashing through the undergrowth. The skinwalker had come to pay his respects to Lincoln. If he was screaming before, he was really screaming now. The beast had its snout in his chest before he could blink. Hell, before I could blink. When you first see one of these things, it's revolting. But as time goes on, you start to see them for the magnificent predators that they are. As I was sitting there, watching that skinwalker feed on Lincoln, it was an almost cathartic thing. So I waited some more after he was done, and it started shitting. And I mean really shitting, leaving trails of it everywhere and urinating too. It tried to run, but couldn't. I think halfway through the great beast shitting out chunks of Lincoln and blood, it realized it was dying. It snarled and looked around, howling at the night sky. Then, it saw me drop down from my stand. I walked over to the skinwalker and met its gaze with my own. With its eyes, it told me everything I needed to know. How they looked me over and bore into me. It knew I was the one who outsmarted it, and it hated me for it. I put a bolt between its eyes and burned the body. Lincoln's, too, or what was left of it. My family has been hunting these things for generations. And if it's one thing I've learned in almost 30 years of hunting, it's that to kill a monster, sometimes you have to be one. Now, some of you might find my methods a little extreme. You'll be happy to know that my wife and kids are less, brutal. That's what I would use. My son Lan is in Ireland, studying the Fae. My daughter Lizzie is in Europe, hunting real monsters, lycanthropes, vampires, and the like. My wife Samantha is in Asia, hunting all manner of monsters. I can't even pronounce most of them, but she could. My brother is in Australia, hunting God knows what. I've emailed them the information to this Reddit account. If you have any particular questions, comment on this post. We all have our share of fucked up stories, so we can entertain you, educate you, and maybe make our jobs easier at the same time. I'll update this tomorrow, or someone else will, with the most requested region and/or monster. Have a nice day. Oh, and do us all a favor. Don't go fucking with anything you don't understand. You don't want to end up like Lincoln.